I went down a dark path. I went down a dark path drinking, and I ended up trying to commit. But I feel like that if I can't talk about the entire truth, then I won't be able to heal myself.
It's just cold-hearted. He's just an evil man.
My name is Jason Hyatt. I am Sibling 48. Found out a few years ago that I am the offspring of Dr. Cline. Okay, so as far as I know, Dr. Cline is one of the most prominent infertility doctors in Indiana. My parents had major issues conceiving me. I believe he told my mom that it would only take a few times. My dad gave him a sample, came back in, and I believe he used that same room to deliver his sample, which is absolutely disgusting. Growing up, I definitely knew something was different. I'm 6'5", my dad that raised me is like 5'10". Didn't have really his brain and with math and engineering. I knew at a pretty early age, especially when, I couldn't have a conversation with them. I just had a feeling. It's just the way, when you look at your father and you have that relationship with a father, it's supposed to be a connection. It's supposed to be a bond. It felt like a stranger. My parents knew, I think, when I was a toddler and I looked completely different. So I think they knew early, but I didn't start questioning it till I became, early teens. But for me, the worst part is I spent 2 years building up this med student that could be my father. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this kid came in at 18, 19. He was a med student. He needed a little bit of extra cash, so he donated. I get it. So I built up this thing of, okay, maybe I can knock on a door one day and, say, hey, you remember doing this? I'm your kid. And him being willing to have a relationship. I think that's the worst part, is when I did find out it was this evil creep of a man that wanted nothing to do with me. It's like I can't look in mirrors anymore. When I found out, I think I was 28 years old at the time, 29. I went down a dark path. I went down a dark path drinking, and I ended up trying to commit myself from a fan. But luckily, I woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning, laying on the ground, and the fan had been pulled off the ceiling. My mom doesn't like me talking about this, but I feel like that if I can't talk about the entire truth, then I won't be able to heal myself. I packed up my Tahoe with like 3 or 4 guns. Of course, I've never been drawn to doing anything crazy. Never had that thought process in my head to wanting to end somebody else's life. I turned around in St. Louis, luckily, and went right back to Colorado Springs. But it took me down a path that I never thought I could go down. I never thought that I was capable of. So this was the path that I went down when I found out that my father was Dr. Cline. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to be comfortable looking in a mirror anymore. It's ruined me. I don't want to have children. And I've always wanted to be a father. And it's like a rock and a hard place. So he's ruined my life. So I hate the man. I had just started a new job being a Medicaid executive for a wellness group. And I had hired a couple girls, and one of the girls brought her kit in and was like, hey, I'm about to do this. And so she convinced me to do it. I didn't really know. I didn't really tell her the situation beforehand. She said, you'll get 13 hints, 13, 15 hints right at the beginning, and you'll be able to, figure your lineage. Well, I finally did it. And then when I opened it up, it had like 3,133 hints. So she was like, oh, this isn't real. And I was like, well, it might be, because I think I'm a donor. And she was like, well, still, donors can only, give their sample out a few times. And so I called, got a response from an executive team, and they were like, no, this is right. I get home, and this was at the end of the day. So I get home about 30 minutes later, my brain is a little foggy on how this situation happened. So I'm not sure if Jacoba called or Julie called, but immediately I thought it was one of my friends playing a prank on me, doing something stupid. So, I obviously yelled at him and hung up the phone. And about 10 minutes later, I think it was Jacoba. She was like, hey, look, you just got a call from Julie. This is real. I need you to, call me back when you're ready. I hung up the phone. I sat down, immediately threw up. Everything from the past and my father, and it was just like it solidified it. Even if my mom told me that there was a chance that my dad not being my dad, it's still not as in your face. It's a piece of paper saying he is not, right? So it just solidified everything that I had been thinking, that I grew up with. I immediately looked him up. When I found out who he was, when I found out what he did, I immediately just went into being like, oh my God, this guy went into a room and did his business. But see, that's the worst part about it to me, thinking my mom in this situation of this guy came in and examined her, right? So he was touching her, getting aroused, then got up and did his business and came back and put his semen in her. So after I found out, I waited a couple months before I called my mom and my dad. And then 2 months later, me telling my parents about the entire situation, my dad hit a switch where he went into early Alzheimer's. My dad, had the opportunity to work for NASA. He was, I think, 2 different engineering degrees, incredibly smart, and now he doesn't know how to tie a shoe. I think there's 96 of us. It's definitely majorly divided. Half of us right now want the world to know and got our way. And then there's the other half are, leave him alone. You need to be grateful that you're on this planet because of him. And it's baffling. I talk to Jacoba on a daily basis, but I even have one brother that's a firefighter here in Austin. Never seen him, never talked to him. Yeah, because he wants nothing to do with us. They think we want to get spotlight when we deep down have him be held accountable. But I want to use this as a stepping stone. It might be the dirtiest stepping stone of all time, but I want to jump on it and then jump the F off. I want to use this and bring positivity to all this negative. I have an FBI buddy. He told me to look into
things. I looked into a few things and we found Quiverful. I don't know if you heard of that secret society. So Quiverful produces many arrows, many children in this world. And, reading some of his books and going into my, I had a whole wall that I had that I was a detective, that had things going here and going there. There's so much of it that still doesn't make any sense, like with even Dr. Cline's kids. So there's just so much weird stuff going on. I feel like I'm going to find it out in the future though. I don't have any relationship with his children because in the beginning, I reached out to one of his sons, asked him a couple questions about ancestry and lineage, and he gave me wrong answers. So he was trying to get me off to another path. It put me off, I want nothing to do with them. I saw all of his pictures and it's all weird culty church stuff. I've tried to reach out to Dr. Cline many a times, his children many a times. Dr. Cline never calls me back. And actually during the filming process, we had Zach, one of our other brothers. I think he's in the 70s, and I have the recording, but he actually went over to his house and said, hey, I'm your son. He goes, I know, now get off, now leave. It's just cold-hearted. He's just an evil man. For me, coping with this entire situation, Texas boy, Texas raised, I'm sure I hit up a driving range, gun range to let loose. But I actually did something really therapeutic a couple months ago. I went to a smash room and just went crazy on a couple, TVs and, bottles and stuff like that. So that's helped. I've tried therapy a couple times, but it's, I don't like it. It's not my gig. It's not my deal. Kudos to the ones that it helps, but me, I box I shoot, guns and, smash stuff up. Started to work on a reel, and I came straight home after filming all this and just hopped right into it and was able to get jobs left and right. I love being behind the camera sometimes. When I was a child growing up with my dad, watching TV, I couldn't watch it real loud. He'd hear it, he'd get mad, he'd tell me to go upstairs, right? So I always watched my shows on mute. So I sat there and came up with my own voices, I wonder what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So it's led me to grow up to be a people watcher. That has led me perfectly into doing not voice acting, but voiceovers. When I found out there was a real possibility for that, and I've been doing that my entire life, I was like, why didn't I think about being able to do this a long time ago? And just never had the people in front of me be able to do that. And now I do. It's very therapeutic in the sense that I say, you know what, look what I get to do because of your stupid mistakes. So it's more of like I'm laughing at him that he's not destroyed all of me. Yeah, he's got a lot of me, and a lot of me is destroyed from him, but not everything. And I'm gonna blossom that not everything. After the documentary came out, I'm not really sure what's happened to Dr. Cline. Before this came out, he told Jacoba that this is going to ruin his marriage. But deep down, there's a side of me that thinks that his wife knows and knew all along. I just find it hard to believe someone can hide something like that from somebody. I did see a letter not too long ago that his church of Zionsville, kicked him out. I don't know if that was a way for them to save face. The only thing that Dr. Cline has ever said that he's helping, or that it's he was helping these women conceive. For me, telling my story, in a way, it is taking back my life, because this is who I am. And I've lost that for years with my past relationships. And this situation is doubled down from my relationship to this. It's made it worse, but telling my story and having people with so much positivity and telling me that, I had a great voice and I could do this behind the camera, it just made me feel like I was worth something now. I have so much support, so much love in my corner. It feels amazing that I actually am loved and cherished, and I'm waiting for that day where I can be happy when I look in the mirror. That's my end goal. That's what I think the entire thing that I'm talking to you now is really about. There's so many different aspects of this story, but the main thing is the mirror, is looking in the mirror and not knowing who I am and not knowing who I want to be, but slowly and surely I'm figuring that out. My advice for anyone watching would be, just know it gets better. What any situation you're going through, it will get better. Reach out to talk to people. Mental health is a big thing. You need to take care of yourself first. I am happier now than I was before this entire situation, but just this moment. Tomorrow it could be, my answer could change. It's just been such an up and down roller coaster every day, day to day. Thanks again for listening to my story. My name is Jason Hyatt, Sibling 48 on Netflix's documentary, Our Father. And I hope you could take something good away from this.